And it feels like a bit of a breath of fresh air. One of their best games of the year for sure. Still end up taking a loss, but the ideas were really smart. We saw good rotational play, very quick decision making, but they couldn't win the team fights, and it was Mora's Medivh, man. That was, I mean, what else do we have to say?
Well, starting from yesterday, we had lots of off-screen false death. Like yesterday, we had the bottom lane Spider Queen 1, and today we have the APOC.
APOC death.
That was okay.
Even the Observer couldn't have predicted that one.
I mentioned from yesterday that we want to see more false death, but not like this.
Definitely dropping the win rate down for Falstad in this tournament. It was at a 75. Probably drops to like a 72, 73 after that one.
Maybe to 60s or something, yes. But we'll see a lot of more Falstad. I think it's slowly climbing up because the rotation work, of course, in the bigger maps are so important. And we didn't see really Gust usage for the boss control, but it will come in handy, especially in the other maps, something like Towers of Doom or Sky Temple, and a lot more, especially the map we just saw, Cursed Hollow.
Well, here we go. Sky Temple is going to be our third map. What will yet again be the map choice for Raven. They will give BlossoM first pick. So very Raven-esque strategy. It did work for them, at least in terms of how the early game played out on Cursed Hollow, so maybe they could try to snowball this game into their advantage on Sky Temple.
Yeah, Raven chose the map again.
Yeah. 3 for 3. The first one was by random choice. They lost the coin toss, but well, at least we assume so. We don't know that for certain. But based on how Heroes competitively is played.
I actually follow this because right now, until this weekend, Ariel is on top, and they do not play Ariel. I think just giving the first one up and taking both right after, I think it's an okay choice if you know what I mean, right?
It's been Li Ming dominant as well. Both games they picked the early Li Ming. It was in Game 2 they took it with Falstad. In Game 1 it was Greymane, which was taken away from them by BlossoM on Cursed Hollow. So the Abathur ban comes in yet again. So suspecting the possible Abathur play that we've seen from Raven so many times.
And they actually played a lot. Darvish played Abathur twice, LMX once. I believe also Young, never mind that. Chom played it once, so targeting lots of different hero pools here.
Okay, here's the Ariels. The first one of the series has been open every game.
That was a given to BlossoM. Finally takes it this time. Maybe they're just going for that standard Vala that Dudu has been super popular for. I think it was Mora that played in game number 1, I believe.
That's right, and Dudu on the Genji.
Yes. So there can be a little bit of change. Of course, Genji already banned, so likely for Dudu if Vala comes out later. But as we saw from lots of those short-ranged, but not too long as Lunara, Vala sometimes against Garrosh gets tossed in the back and there is no way of escaping. So that's still a question. Is Raven ready to pick up that Garrosh pick?
I mean, it's certainly a strong choice. Can pull the hyper carry away from the heals, force an Aegis to be used early in a fight. Can be very powerful, but let's see. You know, those are the big questions when we get into really competitive series as to how Garrosh will perform. They deny the Vala pick, so Dudu's best hero is now removed. In this case, where they had the Arl, they're going to take the Tastar with it. So now BlossoM will have to find a new battery. Will that be Dudu's Lunara? We have seen that to decent effect. Or the Tracer.
They also had Hyper Carry Tracer and Hyper Carry Lunara a few times, so they can go. They have lots of ways of going around with Ariel. That's exactly where the power of first pick Ariel comes along. You can deny something like Vala along with Tastar, but there are lots of other options. Sometimes you don't really make it into hyper carry. You can have double DPS or even a triple DPS. And Ariel healing, of course, with the Aegis comes in handy all the time. And here comes the first Garrosh of the day.
All right, so Garrosh will be on the side of BlossoM here with the Lunara. This could be very strong in the early game for getting picks, especially in the tri-lane in the bot.
If Vala gets caught by one Groundbreaker and gets tossed to the behind, and that will be a dead Vala for sure.
I think that Raven needs Uther in this comp. The problem is that Lunara's burns will go through the armor that Uther provides, but the burst heals might be able to protect Vala. Divine Shield can protect Vala, allow her to carry the fights. Maybe we could even see a strafe Vala if they run the Uther. Will BlossoM allow that, though? BlossoM may just simply ban the Uther away, force them into the Rhaegar pick. The plummeting win rate of Kharazim is now 1-6, I believe, in this tournament after his loss earlier today. Is something I don't think that we're going to have coming into effect. So we'll be the ban away from globals. Do they ban the Uther here? I think it's a smart choice. It's really empowering Vala post 10 with a Divine Shield.
They can keep the same one, or if Raven is considering, if they have not at all. If they're thinking about dive, Rhaegar was also another option that pairs up pretty well with the Tastar. But so far, after ban and Uther ban, seems like this one's going to stuck against Raven for many teams.
Yeah. Another alternative ban could have been the Malfurion that we saw in game number 1, because Stitches is still viable on this map. It's not his best map, but it's a hero that Raven likes to run and would have been a way to use the Malfurion pick to greater effect, but...
It's an old style. It's old already, but it's still balanced somewhat, and if you can pull that off, perfect picks off, and it really...
It works well with Tastar's Force Wall as well. This forces the Rhaegar pick. They're just going to lock it in here as we wait for additional time. 20 seconds to go as they figure out what their tank is going to be.
They can bring in De Young's old Diablo, pairs up with the Force Wall pretty well, and we saw lots of signs. Diablo pairing up with Lockdown Tastar back from Eastern Clash when Tempest played that pair.
Definitely a strong choice. Not the greatest for the distance between the lanes for this map. They're going to go for protection with Tyrael instead.
Maybe just Greymane to just finish the draft, unless BlossoM takes that before.
I mean, the Tyrael pick here is basically another way to get that invulnerability for Vala. If it is, again, going to be the strafe that we see out of her in this situation, I think is a very high chance with the enemy composition. Sure, maybe Rain Advantage can save her when Garrosh comes in, but feels like you're really grasping at straws if that's how you're going to try to survive here when you have the double support already. So now BlossoM needs a standard solo tank of their own, or not solo tank, but Garrosh doesn't really serve as a solo tank. We have seen it to limited effect, but remember that Garrosh has been the strongest against dive so far in this tournament. That's not what we're seeing from Raven.
Yep.
I think Garrosh gets stronger if they lock in the 5th pick Greymane. And BlossoM is trying to kind of counteract the possibilities right now. Will they lock in the Greymane? Should we take it for ourselves? Should we take a secondary support here? Arthas is going to be the tank. And the final support? Zul, not even a support. So Zul is buffed quite a bit. We've only seen one game of competitive play in Korea.
But a lot more in NA especially.
Yeah.
Clearing the lanes, and they don't have a global, but they have the wave clear for sure with that Zul pick. So Raven either really go around and go with the global. Of course, the Haka's already banned, so there are limited options. ETC is still, I would say it's alright if they can pair it up pretty well, but can Vala provide the burst damage to burn down Lunara? Or is it going to be the other way, Lunara burning down Vala? I think Raven needs more damage here, because there are lots of tanks on the other side.
I would actually like a hero that has Giant Killer.
Yeah, I would like
a Falstad even is good here. Tychus. Tychus or Falstad, I think both are good choices. Wow, Nazebo. They want to play the late game. And I think this works, because Zul is at his weakest in late game. He is at his weakest in team fighting. It's solo support for Lunara. So you have double support to out-heal that damage, especially with the Rhaegar. He does very well against Lunara's poison damage. Tastar, not so much. He's better at burst. But this draft, if they can protect the Vala, stall the game, delay the game, very difficult on Sky Temple. If they can do these things, I actually like the draft of Raven a little bit more. Zul, though, is going to be the trump card. They need to get a large structure lead. They want to take out that bot Temple healing fountain early on using Zul, using that pressure. We'll see if they can make it happen, guys, as we go into potentially our last game of the series on Sky Temple. BlossoM, Wiz on Arthas, Gondar on Garrosh, Mora on Zul, Dudu on Lunara, and No Chat on Ariel.
Raven, Darvish on Vala, Hamlin on Tyrael, and MX on Nazebo, De Young on Tastar, and Chom on Rhaegar.
All right, let's see if this Zul makes the impact that I think is required. He needs to bust this game open early. BlossoM, I think if Raven gets 10 first, I feel like the game is almost won at that moment. I mean, I'm not talking like they got it like 30 seconds first. I mean, if they get a level lead for any reason and get level 10 first, it forces the late game, and BlossoM will struggle at that moment. So.
I like this early start, pressuring the other side, and Nazebo is actually on top, so they have kind of like lane swapped in the way, and unless they... Ooh, Darvish is so low, but may survive from Chom's healing coming in. Okay.
Yeah, Dion has the shield too.
And Nazebo gets an easy early game from the one extra wave, and Zul had to make a big rotational up. So good work from Raven, but if they take that much damage though, that's not going to be helpful later on.
I wonder if, see the thing is, I'm wondering if BlossoM has enough damage. I don't know if they do against this comp, especially once Nazebo gets tanky in the late game. Look at how long it takes Zul to rotate between lanes. Zul always, in competitive play, was a hero that would be used on small maps because he could just rotate between 2 lanes and shove both of them so hard non-stop.
Like Spiders or...
Spider or Blackheart's Bay.
When we had one.
Yeah,
when
we had
still have
one,
but not in competitive anymore, so...
Okay, here's, again, an attempted pick, but they just don't have the damage. The CC is there, but they're going to actually lose First Blood to Darvish's Vala here. In fact, it could be double if Dudu really wants to contest this. So close call. Not a good start here for BlossoM with this draft. This is a bad map for Zul rotating between 2 lanes, and even though we've all had that Zul player who sits in 1 lane in solo queue, that's not how he's played in competitive. He needs to make sure he gets value in 2 lanes, and if he can't do that, then he's going to find himself getting behind, especially when picks like this with the CC attempted grabs with Garrosh are failing. Darvish went way too far here, and it looks like Dion doesn't have Psystorm.
That's...
I have no idea what happened down there. I couldn't tell you.
I guess Gondar threw him over the wall or something?
I guess, yeah.
And the armor saved Garrosh, but Vala ended up dying there. And
just a greedy play overall.
A little bit. And of course, you can't be greedy against Garrosh. He will just toss you over the wall, and when you're trying to run away, he will just ground break. And you will be pulled. That's a danger when you try to be greedy against Garrosh, just like that.
Okay, here we go. Hamlin does get cost him with that Wrecking Ball. We'll go ahead and Aldurin's into the fight. Wants to actually explode to get some more damage done here. He's actually intentionally diving deep into the fight. With all the shields coming in, though, he does survive, and they will actually get the first kill here onto Garrosh yet again. Raven wins the fight. Second kill here onto Lunara with the chase from Darvish. All the while, you know, Zul is pushing the bot lane. He's rotated down there, but Nazebo's getting more stacks and leading towards that late game. So very strong position here for Raven. And the early game that was supposed to be dominated by lane push and the CC that Garrosh and Arthas provide, Lunara damage, hasn't worked out. The healing has been there too successfully for Raven. And now they're going to take the majority of both of these temples. They're going to get level 7 first, and they're leading towards that level 10 advantage. And Zul is actually losing the bot lane because he went bot for a moment. He's going to have to clear that. Zul, I think if he had a partner of any kind, maybe they could get the healing fountain at least to win the advantage in terms of longer sustained healing that way in the bot fight. But Raven, with how well they've been using the double support, they might not even need it.
The thing about having a Zul on your team, you need a very good 4-man rotation on the other side. That's how you push. Just let Zul just clear waves on 1 lane, or if 2 lanes if possible, without getting picks. And the other 4 has to push the lane super hard. And having an Ariel, of course, helps a lot, but Lunara does sustained damage, and against the double support, it's really canceling a lot. And Hamlin, you noticed in the middle of the map when they fought, Hamlin survived that fight.
Yeah.
He was so low when he went in from the very beginning. The shields and the healing coming in from Tastar and Rhaegar, that was enough. And meanwhile, when Garrosh was running away, Vala was doing free damage. I believe we can see a lot more moments like that.
It just feels like with Dudu, to get the killing blows here with Lunara as the solo DPS, he needs to go in too deep, and he finds himself getting caught if he does. So that's the concern. We'll see if the Zul pick can do anything further for them here. In fact, he's going to rotate down. He's got the point-click stun at least.
Vala is away, so lack of damage can be a big thing for Ravens. So they have to back off. Very nice shot calling by BlossoM then. This is how you really start the rotational work. Just having Vala up there. Ooh, even getting a kill. That's a plus for BlossoM.
I don't know. I was watching that on the minimap the entire time. Because because Science and our Observer isn't watching, I would try to like tell the story that I feel like. I'm like, history is written by Wolf when he watches the minimap and no one else knows. But he was past Arthas up there, maybe dodged a Howling Blast going forward, and that's why he was on the other side. It was weird. We won't know exactly what happened there, but he got a second death for Vala in odd off-screen fashion. This is doing a lot of damage, but have they overextended here in the bot lane?
So Vala's not here yet, and NMX can't do too much damage. But did get some stacks, and I believe the Widowmaker quest is about to be done, or if not finished already.
Finally we're seeing Zul get so much done in the top lane. Gondar is in trouble. He has that armor. Full bar here for no chat, but doesn't have the cooldown, it looks like. There's the Aegis used. They do get 10 first. They needed it, and part of that is Zul pushing the top lane.
Nicely
looks like it's going to
done.
be a double.
Nicely done by BlossoM. They actually drew that out. They were waiting for that 10 because Zul was pushing on top. Perfectly timed.
Tossed forward. Oh, just barely misses the root. Having that friendly toss there, though, can get you some picks. They get the top fort with the Zul pressure. And this all goes back to Vala dying in the top lane. If that hadn't happened, Zul doesn't get the free push. They get a better rotation down. They don't have the 10 advantage against them. And now finally everything is going according to plan for BlossoM, as they're going to go ahead and get this boss here, leaving the temple completely available. And Raven, not a very quick rotation down. They have Sanctification. They have some good boss tools for control. They need to get here so much faster than they are heading. The Zebo is so far away right now.
They have time, and another strafe. Sanctification is available, so BlossoM, are they going to? No, they will not be greedy. Actually, Raven continuing this boss. They want to fight here and try to make a strong decision.
Hamlin is in good position here.
Duke is very low, so he can't do too much damage. Very good taunt, actually, and Darvish is on the other side. Lunara takes out the best damage dealer from Raven.
Sanctification's already been used here. Hamlin is just trying to hold on to the zone, doing as much damage as he can. The Ancestral is really good, so is the Aegis here, but the health pool advantage goes to Raven. They have the longer sustained fight with the double support, and they will win this fight. We are going to see a toss here into the fort. Chom is going to get taken out here. The Zebo Spider's not doing him any favors. Still a trade and a massive advantage for Raven. But the longer sustained healing, Dudu doesn't have enough damage to burn through that. As we see time and time again, he picked Lunara early in the draft in second rotation. And it was already against the Tassadar. The Rhaegar comes in very strong against this. The shield's coming out from Tyrael. And if this continues, I worry, because Nazebo can only do so much. He got the top fort down for free when they got the pick on Navala. But what will he be able to do when the game is snowballing away from them? Pushing the lanes and pushing down forts has a limit, because eventually once the forts are gone, you can't continue to get that free push. You can't actually start to threaten the keeps, or you'll just get picked, especially on this map that has lanes so far away.
That's why he's staying on top, and well done by Raven. Especially, I'm impressed from Chom whenever he's open free with his comfortable picks, especially on Rhaegar or when we see him on Uther. That ancestral timing and the targeting, of course it wasn't the hardest one to land on, but it was near perfection there. Coordination there was pretty good. Of course, Darvish extended a little bit from the beginning, and one-on-one versus Lunar. Maybe he thought he could win the 1v1, but he had a lot more teammates available onto the side of BlossoM. So he lost. But that 4v5 fight right after Darvish died was pretty damn good, I gotta say, from Raven.
It was. Hamlin and his control of Tyrael this game has been very impressive in both of those team fights. Very early dimensional shift here for Diong. Mora is clearing this camp, so Chom will do the same. I think they've kind of identified this as they see the 4-man in mid. The bot lane, though, still not dealt with. Here's the taunt commitment to Diong. He already used his dimensional shift.
Yes, is out.
Oh, he just barely got another one.
So he had to pop. He had to pop his heroic to get another shift there, and Hamlin is buying time, and Wiz takes a lot of damage, but that's a good trade, I've got to say, for a taunt to an Archon.
Okay, look at this. Darvish wants to take this fight. Look at his positioning here.
Zebo died on top, I guess.
Yeah, died to Zul 1v1 somehow. All right, Sanctification is really good. The Ancestral goes off, perhaps a bit premature, as we see No Chat tossed away. He has Aegis, so it's very important he survives. Gondar will have to have the Aegis here in order to get out. They are targeting him down. He wants to use that at the last second, No Chat does. Okay, this might be it. Look at all the extra damage. Gondar is just living through everything with all this armor. And perhaps Raven overextended, as they're now going to lose several here. The Zebo's dead in the top lane too. So while all of this happens, we are going to see that Zul push towards the keep. And since no one's there to gank him, I mean, no one's there to gank him. He is going to get a lot done. He actually hearts home now as he gets to the end of his threshold. And as we mentioned very briefly, look at the bot lane. The Siege Giants are still there. And Raven, I feel like with this overextension and Garrosh just having so much armor there, the heals coming out from Ariel, never even needed the Aegis till the last second. That's what won them the fight.
I think they learned their lesson. Do not focus Garrosh, as he may soak up all of your damage, and basically you will be missing the damage. And they were following. The initial following seemed alright. They were winning. The Sanctification Ancestral landed on Tyrael. They were back in full health. But once Garrosh was low and never going down, and Nocha just ended up using the Crystal Aegis on himself for no reason at later time after the teamfight actually ended. Their sustain is actually pretty decent. But that needs a condition. When Lunara can do free damage like that. If you let Lunara just jump around, do free damage, then Raven, you're going to be in trouble just like that.
Well, this is why Zul can't really push anymore at this stage of the game. The ganks come in. Does have the fort to fall back to, but will still be killed. So that's why you can't push keeps. But down here somehow Nazeebo dies as they are just trying to get this keep with the shots of the temple. It should be alone enough. And BlossoM just wanted to guarantee this. They get a pick with it. So it's a trade, but it's a bad trade for Raven.
It's a terrible trade, to be honest.
Remember, with Nazeebo comps, the golden rule is that you need to hit 20 before you lose your first keep. And with this already out of the water, and how many times he's been picked now? I think 3 times he's died solo. He just will never have not Fell Infusion. He'll never have the why can I remember this? The level 20 that he has. It's really strong. For some reason I can't remember. Vile something.
Yes, Vile Infection.
Vile Infection, yes, thank you. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that, but yes, he will
it's
very likely
never
have it.
Nazeebo, yes, and no Ice Block actually, going for spell armor.
Spell armor, but will take extra damage, partially perhaps why he died sometimes. Maybe that was a misclick. I mean,
I'm not too sure, but
it's pretty good to have Ice Block against this comp.
Against all the spell damage, but against all the Lunara, I guess Poison is considered as a spell damage, so I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Lunara's damage kind of is like 50-50 like that. You could see the argument for it, but it means he dies so much faster to just normal every other attacks. That's the trade-off with that. I feel like that should actually show in the UI that he has like that he's basically vulnerable. I guess it might not technically be vulnerability, but anyway. Whatever. They just added the new UI. I'm not going to gripe about it. It's pretty good. Raven now needs to win every fight, basically, and get a keep. The top keep is very close, but it's not done. If they can, and they need the bot keep, realistically, to neutralize the pressure in order to survive to 20. The top keep, I don't think, is going to be good enough, especially because of this bot keep being open, which they aren't dealing with right now. The catapults are coming. Means that it's the boss lane. It's also the Siege Giant lane. It's by far the best lane to have on this map if you're going to go for keeps. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to win the fights required in order to retake that. If they could try to force a fight on boss, maybe they could win that with the Sanctification like they did last time. Unfortunately, though, I think BlossoM knows this is one of their only risky plays that could cost them the game, so they're just simply not going to do it.
They get the camp and just escape safely. There's a taunt.
3-man route.
Like a damage comes in from due to that Sank was basically wasted and whizzes onto the other side. Zul actually decides to push all the way in.
Okay, really good Ancestral, and will Zul be able to really team fight here? The Aegis goes down onto Gondar. He's got so much armor. Good stun here onto Hamlet, but he's got the shields. Gondar should not be focused. They're trying to target him down. Chom is going to go down here as Darvish finds his way into the back line.
BlossoM doesn't even need to win the team fight. All they had to do was stall time because Zul is not even here, and this keep is down, and they're 20, and Raven still has full 2 levels to reach 20.
2 temples too, and Hamlin is going to be killed here. There's no way out of this one. Even a perfect Aldruins isn't perfect enough to get out of here. He gets taken out. They have 3 objectives available while the catapults push bot, which are, of course, the temple, and the boss. So they can take all 3. They even have the Siege Giant camp they can take on their way to the boss. So squatting 2 on temples to get the 3rd keep down to threaten core, I think, is the safest way, while then rotating perhaps into the mid lane here, as you could see, to look for a pick. If they get a single pick, they squat the temples and then win the game.
Wiz's decision of Arthur's going around the back line to pressure all the damage and the supports. Oh, look at the shields coming in for Gondar. That's insane.
45 armor, pretty strong. Does end up
Gondar
surviving.
Darvish may get tossed in, may not be tossed, but die before. And Zul Temple is already onto the core, and this may be just the end of the game before Nazeebo hits 20.
Yeah, definitely will be the end of the game here. Chom gets caught in the root. Dimensional shift is going to delay the inevitable here for Diong as NMX tries to kite back towards the core. One more shot will kill him. Looks like the root is going to make sure he can't get back in. The Q is actually going to kill him there at the end of the day from Arthas, and that is going to be game over. The 3-0, the Zul pick works out in the end here for BlossoM, as Raven will lose that last team fight and lose the game with it. Definitely not the cleanest game from BlossoM of the 3 they played today. I think they'd be very happy that the Zul pick worked out for them and no one was ever babysitting him. They were able to delay the fights long enough, take those extended fights with the Lunara while Zul was pushing the top lane. And laughs here on the side of Raven for Darvis especially. It was a messy series, that much is true, but when you look at that number 7 and, number 8 in Raven and what was normally number 7 in BlossoM last season, now they've moved up quite a bit to, I believe, the number 6 currently. It was never going to be the cleanest series, but I think the things that were most impressive were Mora's Medivh and also the good rotational play, the smart decision-making on Cursed Hollow for Raven. So those are the 2 takeaways, I think, for the series.
I think their coordination really came along as we played more games. I think they had lots of practice, but it just didn't come up on the stage. It's been a while since they were here at OGN to playing offline, so maybe they had some nerves coming back, and starting from game number 1 was not so perfect. Game number 2, a little bit better. Game number 3, they had some moments where they really shined, but later game, maybe they were lacking focus and positioning of BlossoM, how they were keeping their teammates alive and pressuring the backline of the enemy was pretty good. Yeah, their strategy, decision-making was overall on top of Raven tonight.
I think the biggest problem for Raven in that last game is how many times Vala died and Nazeebo died. Where, like, sometimes they died off screen, sometimes they died on screen, and, like, I'm sure the Twitch chat was, like, filled with question mark. Like, it was always a question mark going on in the Twitch chat. Everyone's like, how did that happen, or why did they do that? I'm not entirely sure. We had these, like, nice advantages, and then Vala died, or then Nazeebo died, and when you zoom out on the map, you're like, well, this could have been an amazing moment, but unfortunately, this happened, and it wasn't just once, it wasn't twice, it was multiple times, so
yep.
I think that's what ended up costing them the 3rd game. The ideas, though, in terms of strategy and the execution on the larger maps is definitely an improvement. They went for the map pick route instead of going for first ban. They knew that they were very comfortable with dealing with the Ariel, and also that BlossoM doesn't like to run the Ariel unless they're going into like a Cho'Gall comp. So smart plays by Raven. I feel like this was one of the best series they've played realistically in the last few months.
I think they showed some promising plays too. So, but tonight, of course, the winners will be having one player from BlossoM. Who is it going to be? Let's find out very soon.
자, 블라썸의
And it's
곤다르
Gondar.
선수와 함께하겠습니다. 오늘 승리 진심으로 축하드리겠습니다.
Congrats
네, 곤다르 선수
to your win today.
이기자마자 딱 이제 엘리베이터 타고 올라왔잖아요.
Of course,
올라오시면서
took
어떤
the elevator. What
생각하시면서
were you thinking when you're
올라오셨어요?
coming up here?
그냥 또 MVP구나.
Oh, I was just
또
thinking,
MVP구나.
no, I'm
또
MVP
MVP구나.
again.
네. 본인이 뭐
What a
또
guy.
MVP 받을 만하다 이런 생각하면서 올라왔나요?
Were you thinking that you were
그냥
worth the MVP
하다
play,
보니까
MVP play tonight?
이기니까 그냥 올라오게 되는 것 같아요.
Well, I think if
팀 내에 5
we
명이나
just win, I
있잖아요.
think I
다른 선수들
come up here often.
좀 부러워한다고 나도 올라가 보고 싶은데 또 그렇게 좀 어필하는 선수가 있나요?
Is there another player who wants to come up on the interview zone?
없어요?
다들
There's no one
MVP로
else.
올라오기 꺼려하던데.
They actually
이 자리가 좀
do
인터뷰하기
not want to get
부담스럽다고요?
do not
곤다르
want to
선수는
be
좀
interviewed
어떠신가요?
as it's a little bit different.
좋아하진 않아요.
이걸 좋아하는 그 순간 더욱더 높은
한
곳으로
단계 상수.
Of course,
지금은
when
이만큼,
you,
나중엔 요만큼.
as a player, if you
그쵸.
start
오히려
enjoying the
가로수처럼.
interview, you
야,
can
근데
improve as a
플레이
player
정말
so much.
장난 아니시던데요? 오늘 계속 그렇게
Your play tonight
뭔가
was
피가 계속 없고 이제 곧 죽을 것
insane,
같은
Gondar. You're about to go
그때마다
down
끌어오던데요?
so
우우막
many
만들고.
times.
네, 저도 죽을 줄 알았는데.
I thought I was gonna
그냥
die too.
어떻게든
But
살아보자라고
somehow,
큐를
뭔가-
썼는데
and
하려고
I used
어떻게
all the
어쩌면
skills like
기술적으로 그렇게
Q,
사용했-
E,
했었던 것
W,
같은데
and I
이걸
survived.
가로시 좋아하시나요?
제가 끌어오는 챔프는 다 좋아해요.
아 진짜요?
I like all the heroes that
누더기 그렇죠.
pulls,
곤다기,
like
곤다라면
Stitches,
누더기잖아요. 이거는
Garrosh
누더기.
now, of
예,
course.
아 누더기를 끌어오는 거
예.
좋아하고
Because
가로시
you like
원래
pulling, right?
폴드세요?
So like Stitches.
아니요.
얼라?
전
중립?
중립입니다.
아,
Are you
판단에-
Alliance or
판단에.
Horde?
아
He's-
기가 막히네요.
I'm
역시
neutral.
선수도 그래
I'm in the
보여요.
middle.
팀 내에서 정치 가장 많이 하는 선수가 누가 있나요?
Who's the one
정-
who actually starts the chat?
농담입니다.
Who's the
좀
most political
혹시 그냥
person in the
오늘
team?
마지막
And
가로시
Gondar
자체에 대한
says,
좀 평가가
does not say a word.
네.
가로시가 솔직히 좀 곤다르 선수가 볼 때 어느 정도의 위치에 있는 영웅이라는 생각이 좀 드세요?
가로신 지금 1티어 같아요.
I think Garrosh is
네.
top tier,
그
S tier.
방어도를 이용한 그
Using
낚시
the armor.
플레이나 뭐 변수 창출하는 능력이
I think it creates a
지금
lot of
챔퍼 중에서
different
1등급
variety of
같아서,
situations
예,
because of
누더기보다
that
더 좋은 것
factor.
같아요.
저는 아까 그 가로실 할 때
I think Garrosh is a strong hero.
살라고 했었다 이렇게 말씀하셨잖아요. 근데 저는 아까 그 생각이 났어요. 여기서 내가 죽더라도 죽고자 하면 살고 살고자 하면 죽는다. 이런
If you
말이
think you are,
그런 마인드였던 것 같거든요.
if you have the mindset you
네,
are willing to
일단
die, then you can
가로시가
survive. And if you
탱커니까
on the other
어떻게든
side,
살아야
you
팀이
if you want to
한타를
survive, you can
이길 수
die.
있잖아요.
But I had that
그쵸.
feeling
Q를 이용해서
using the
끌어오면
groundbreaker to
어떻게든 한타를 이길 수 있지 않을까.
draw the
그렇죠.
enemies in and
네,
win the
탱커는
team
아무렇게나
fight. I had that
끌어올려야지.
thought, and that was the
탱커는
only
이렇게
thought
앞라인에서
during the team
지켜주는
fight.
영웅이다 보니까 그런 마인드로 임한 거죠.
네, 그죠.
네, 앞으로도 이 인터뷰를 지금도 잘하고 있는데
And of course,
앞으로 더 즐기실 수 있죠.
your interview is,
네.
of course, we're going. It's
좀만
been
더
awesome, but
하면 즐길 수
can you
있어요.
enjoy a
그래요?
little bit
그러면
more
정말
every
마지막으로
time you come up
저
later on?
마지막 질문이고요. 센거 한번 질문 들어가겠습니다. 이번 시즌 몇 승까지 보십니까?
How many more wins can you
스스로
have
딱
this
평가를
season?
아,
우리
세다.
이번
By the
팀이
end.
이번 시즌에 지난 시즌 2승 5패했어요.
Of course, it was 2-5 last part.
어?
I think we can have 4
4승이요?
wins. 4
우와,
wins
4승이면은
in part 2.
중상위권이거든요.
100%네요.
That will actually place you in the higher
2승에서
그러네요.
100% 올라가네요.
upper half of the
할수 있을 것
standings.
같아요.
오.
I think it's
자, 아무래도 이제
possible.
그런 자신감이 나오는 게 그 연습을 많이 한다고
Is that coming?
이렇게
Is that
소문이
confidence
자자해요.
coming out
근데
from all the
전반기
practice
끝나고
that you guys are
후반기
having?
들어온 그 30일간의 기간 동안 어떻게 좀 보완을 좀
What did you guys do over the last month?
일단 스크림을 제외하고
Other than
연습할
scrims.
수단이 영리밖에 없다 보니까 일단
The only way of practicing
영웅
was
리그를
just
많이 했고요.
practicing Hero League.
그 영웅 리그에서 많이 캐릭터 숙련도를 쌓으니까
And
지금 이
we
대회에서 가로지를 쓸 수
had higher understanding of the heroes, and that's why I could also use Garrosh.
연습이 많이 됐던 것 같아요.
Today, I think that Hero League
그래서
practice
이제
really helped a lot
제가
too.
그 방금 아바투르 인터뷰 질문을 한번 드렸는데 그런 부분은 그럼 나 좋고 지금 이번에 그 HGC 그 후반기에 임하는 각오 같은 거 한마디 좀
Of course,
부탁드립니다.
let's
네.
hear your last words going into the second part of
이렇게
phase
또
number 2.
MVP 오게 됐는데
Of course, I'm here as
앞으로
an MVP.
우리 다른 팀원들이 MVP를 또 많이 받고 많이
But I
이길
wish
수
all
있고
of
그랬으면
my teammates
좋겠습니다.
get all the MVPs, and they
알겠습니다. 오늘 승리
also
진심으로
get the chance
축하드리겠습니다.
to come up
지금까지
here
블라썸의
and
이제 곤다르 선수와
speak
함께
the
했습니다.
words of as an
자, 이제
MVP.
그렇다면 오늘 경기 결과 한번 확인해 보겠습니다.
Alright,
He's like, I'm
that's
talking
it.
to you, Ryder.
Yes, I'm. No, he's saying I think he's saying that they want to win more matches so they can have more MVPs.
he's like, look, guys, I need each person to come up here individually equally. He's like, I've been up here 3 times, and like Wiz has been up here like 1 time.
Once, yes.
He's like, what's going on? So that's the 3-0 victory here for BlossoM Raven. It was a pretty close series in the games. Not so much Battlefield of Eternity, but the other games definitely were certainly closer. Our second series of the night might be similar, as we're going to go into MVP Black versus RRR, but definitely I felt like we saw a different Raven. And remember, we take a snapshot of today, and let's look back in time in 5 weeks' time and see where Raven stands at the end. BlossoM made great improvements in Part 1, and in Part 2 they had a 3-0 victory already. They're looking good. We're going to take that short commercial break, though, guys, before we go into MVP Black versus RRR, and we'll